Today we're going to be talking about brake calipers and brake pads. Stick around. Welcome back to our maintenance program series. Today we're going to talk about the brake calipers and the brake pads. We're going to start here. This is a metric caliper. These would be like your mods, stock cars, things like that. These brake calipers, there ain't really a whole lot of rebuilding them. They do sell a rebuild kit. I just get mine from like the local parts place, Napa, whatever. So for the price point, there's really no point in rebuilding these. And I haven't really seen any value with getting the racing brand ones. I just take the 4 off at the end of the year, take them in as a core, and get 4 brand new ones. But when we're talking about the metric calipers, no matter what you're doing, you have to use this spacer unless you're using a really thick rotor. Whenever you get this piston out, it's a different brake feel. So the farther in you can have this piston, it's going to be a better brake pedal all around. So I'm a firm believer that all 4 corners needs to have a spacer put on the piston. That pretty much covers the metric caliper. There ain't a whole lot of rebuilding on that or nothing, so we're going to set him off to the side. So next up we have a late model caliper. This is off of my car. It's got a couple seasons on it, probably right around 60 nights since they've been rebuilt. Usually you want to shoot somewhere that 40 to 60 nights on a rebuild. These are pricey enough that we're farther ahead to put new seals in it. We're going to pop the pistons out. We're going to check them for damage, make sure that there's no marks or anything on them. Check the housing to make sure that's all good. And then we'll put new seals and put it back together. I'll go through that process here. But first I'm going to jump over to the brake pads quick. So for the mods, in my experience, brake pad wise, I really like the AFCO 34 pads. They seem to do what I want them to do really good. Late model wise, I'm still up in the air. I've tried a couple different pads. The pad I'm on now, I seem to like a lot, but I can't really give a suggestion yet. I need a few more races with them. I only had them on maybe for 4 or 5 races, and I seem to really like them. But talking about the pads, when I take my pads off, I mark them. There's the left rear inner. And when we're looking at our pads, what we want to look at is we want to make sure that this backing's not like a ghost white, like they got burnt. Same with the pad material. We want to make sure we don't have any cracks along it or across it. And then actually, if you look at this pad, I think you should be able to see it. It's very glazed over. These pads only had, I think, 2 nights on them since last time I opened the pads up. So whenever you're going to get a glazed pad, you're not going to get good friction. The heat range starts to change and your grip starts to change. So this is what I do whenever I get a glazed pad. We use concrete, but let's say you have really nice concrete, you don't want to mess it up. You can get yourself a brick, or you can pour concrete in one of these pans, give it a decent room finish. But all you're going to do is you're going to take this pad and you're going to slide it back and forth on here. And as you can see, it's already starting to open these pores up. And this is a fairly smooth one. If I come over here on the side, you can see it's really starting to open these pores up now. And that's all we're after. You just want to get these pores open back up, get the glaze off of them. That way you can grip the rotor the way that they're supposed to. I suggest doing this probably every 2-3 nights, just to keep the brakes nice and working like they're supposed to. Well, I made more of a mess than I thought. So yeah, that's my maintenance on the pads. I'll come back in, I'll open these back up. And then as far as pad wear, it's kind of the same thing with the metric calipers. I go off of pad wear by how far the piston's out. You know, I don't want that piston out probably any more than 3/8 of an inch aside. So if they're getting to that 3/8 of an inch, I'll pitch the pads, put new pads on. I don't really mess around with the spacer on the late model stuff because our rotors are the same width as what the caliper's made for. Let's bring this caliper back over here. So this caliper is meant for a 125 rotor. So with fairly new pads in it, I mean, these, you can see right here, that's all the farther the piston's out. I pulled this side out a little bit. That's about all the farther I want my piston out. Like I said, it's the same thing with the metric caliper. The farther you get this piston out, it starts to change your brake fuel a little bit. So the more we can have these pistons in, the less fluid's in here. And then in return, you get more pedal. So let's get started on rebuilding this. They're not too bad, it's pretty straightforward. What I like to do is I will take this tub. Now what I do to get the pistons out is I find something that slides right in here, like so. And then I'm going to take a little bit of air Now we don't want to put a lot of air on it, just a little bit. And you're going to want to keep your fingers out of here so you don't smash them. And we're just going to walk these pistons out. Like so. And then when we're done, we're going to take our pipe out of here. Once we get our pipe out of here, then we're going to take our pistons and we're going to try walking them out by finger. Sometimes they come out that easy, sometimes they don't. All depends kind of how long they've been stuck in there. If not, you can take a pliers, but you gotta be very careful. You want to be just on the edge of them. And then you're just going to kind of rock them out of there. Like so. And then we're going to clean each piston up and inspect it. Make sure there's no burrs, no damage on it. Make sure it's all clean. So once we get all 4 pistons out of our caliper, we're going to go ahead and we're going to inspect the pistons. When removing it, on this one I found a couple of the pistons are pretty wore. They have a lot of wear marks, chatter marks. Like this one here, I don't know if you can see all that, but they're getting wore to the point where it's letting them rock a little bit. And so then the piston don't go straight. We're not putting 4 pistons worth of square pressure on the pad. So I'll actually replace this one, but for demonstration, I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you how to replace the seals. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to clean this all up. We're just going to give it a little bath with the brake clean. And we're going to wipe it all down. Once we got it wiped all down, the next thing I like to do is we're going to take and we're going to pop all the bleeders off. And then once we get the bleeders off, what I like to do is I'll actually take the straw of the brake clean, and then right here is your bleed hole on the bottom side. I'll spin that to the bottom. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's coming out the bleed hole good, so we know that the bleeder's clean. These bleeders will actually get packed full of mud over time, so I'm a big advocate of bleeding brakes pretty much every time I do the pads, get the pads scuffed up. So yeah, I keep these bleeders clean so that way you can come through and you can bleed your calipers whenever you do your pads. So next thing we're going to do is there's some square O-rings that the pistons slide against. So we're just going to come in here with a pick very nicely without ruining the housing or putting gouges in the housing. And we're going to pull these square O-rings out. And you're going to do that on all four. And I don't know if you can see it very good in the video or not, but this is the groove that we're looking to clean out. And now we want to come in here and we want to make sure it's all clean. There's no foreign residue or anything in there from the last O-ring. Grab another rag here. And we're actually just going to come in here and we're going to clean this groove out. So once we got this groove cleaned out, we'll take a new O-ring and we just pop it in that groove. And you want to look at it, run your finger around it, make sure it's square in the groove, down where it needs to be. So then we'll take our piston, and it's chamfered on the bottom to help it start. And we just take our piston, and we want to get square in here, and we start pushing it in. And you can actually take two hands and hold it like this, 2 fingers on this side, 2 fingers on this side. And then you can actually push it all the way back down. Like I said, this caliper, the pistons are pretty scuffed up. I can actually feel them when I push down on them, that they rock in here. They're just getting wore out. Between the housing getting wore and the piston getting wore. So I'll actually go through and I'll just replace this caliper. But this is all part of the maintenance. You know, if we would just kept running it, put the car back together, started the year out the way we finished the year, you know, we would have just been starting with a stuck caliper. Now the next thing on these calipers, this pin is what holds the brake pad in. When the brake pads sit in here, they sit in here like this, and this pin holds the brake pad in. We want to make sure that that pin can turn freely. We don't want to be drawing this housing in where this pin freezes, because otherwise it doesn't let the pad slide back and forth the way it needs to, and it'll bind the caliper up itself. So yeah, that's been an overview of the caliper and brake pad maintenance. If we wouldn't do this maintenance, we would have found out this caliper was bad. We would have ended up sticking a piston, and we would have lost some braking performance in this caliper. If you guys are finding value in this, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and keep following along on the maintenance program. I plan on doing it all winter as I redo my car, everything that we go over. I'm going to show you the maintenance on it, what we're looking for, and how we do it. Thank you guys for watching.